The Middle East is once again at the center of global tension. A massive military strike hits Iran. The United States and Israel carry out one of the most devastating attacks in modern history. Hundreds of targets are destroyed. Military bases burn. Explosions shake major cities. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, is killed. The response comes quickly. Missiles fly across the region. Targets are hit not only in Israel, but across the Gulf. Bahrain, Dubai, Qatar, Saudi Arabia. The Strait of Hormuz becomes a battlefield. This narrow waterway carries nearly 20% of the world's oil. Now it turns into one of the most dangerous places on Earth. Behind the explosions, another battle begins. A battle over meaning, a battle over narrative, a battle over belief. Listen carefully to the language used by leaders in Washington and Tel Aviv. They are not only talking about security, they are not only talking about nuclear weapons, they are talking about prophecy, they are talking about destiny, they are talking about the end of days. The U.S. Defense Secretary warns about regimes driven by what he calls
prophetic Islamist delusions.
Inside the American military, a strange narrative begins to appear. According to the Military Religious Freedom Foundation, some commanders tell their troops something unusual. They say this is not only a political conflict. They say it is part of God's plan. One complaint from a U.S. officer describes a briefing where a commander makes a shocking statement. He says the American president has been chosen by Jesus, chosen to light the signal fire in Iran, chosen to trigger Armageddon, chosen to mark the return of Christ. For some soldiers listening in that room, the message is clear. This is not just war, this is prophecy. At the same time, in Israel, another ancient idea is invoked. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu references a story from the Bible. In Jewish tradition, Amalek represents pure evil, an enemy so dangerous that God commands the Israelites to erase it completely. By using this language, Netanyahu draws a direct line from an ancient biblical enemy to modern-day Iran. The idea is powerful, and it shapes how people understand the conflict. But these ideas did not appear overnight. For decades, religious interpretations of global politics have been growing. In the 1970s, a book called The Late Great Planet Earth became a bestseller. It told readers that current world events were signs of biblical prophecy. These books taught generations of evangelical Christians to see world politics through the book of Revelation. Different enemies appeared in these interpretations: the Soviet Union, Iraq, and now Iran. Many believers began to see the Middle East not only as a political battlefield, but as the stage for the final conflict in human history. Religious leaders also joined the conversation. Some pastors urge people to pray for Israel. They call the conflict a moment of spiritual importance. And slowly, a question begins to spread across the world. Is this becoming a religious war? To understand this question, we must first look at the events themselves. The conflict begins with a massive military strike. U.S. and Israeli forces target key leadership inside Iran. The operation sends shockwaves through the region. Iran responds with force. Missiles are launched against American and Allied positions across several Gulf countries. Military facilities are hit. Strategic locations become targets. Even cities known for peace and luxury suddenly witness missiles crossing the sky. For many civilians, it is the first time they experience the reality of war so close to home. Yet leaders in the Gulf region describe the situation very differently. Countries like Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Qatar do not speak about prophecy. They speak about security. They fear being trapped in the middle of a regional conflict. For years, these countries try to balance two difficult relationships: their alliance with the United States and their proximity to Iran. Now that balance begins to collapse, but the roots of this conflict go back many decades. In 1979, Iran experiences a dramatic revolution. A pro-Western monarchy is replaced by an Islamic government. The new leadership builds a state based on Shia religious authority. This moment changes the political map of the Middle East. Religion becomes part of geopolitical rivalry. For many years, the United States and Israel view Iran mainly as a strategic threat. They accuse Iran of supporting armed groups across the region, groups like Hezbollah, Houthi, and Hamas. But gradually, the language used to describe Iran begins to change. Some leaders no longer describe Iran only as a political rival. They describe it as a religious enemy. History also casts a long shadow. The memory of the Crusades still exists in the region. Centuries ago, wars between Christian and Muslim powers left deep scars. Even the language of modern politics sometimes echoes those old battles. Now religion begins to appear again in political messaging. On the American side, religious beliefs influence how some people interpret global events. For many evangelical Christians, Israel holds special significance. They believe the existence of Israel fulfills biblical prophecy. Some interpretations say the return of Jesus will follow a final global battle called Armageddon. In this belief system, certain events must happen first. Israel must control the Holy Land, and powerful enemies must gather against it. Some religious leaders even describe a future war where multiple nations attack Israel, and God intervenes directly. On the other side of the conflict, religion also plays an important role. Iran is a Shia Muslim country. Shia theology includes its own vision of the future. Many believers expect the return of a figure called the Mahdi, a leader who will appear before the end of time to bring justice to the world. For millions of Shia Muslims, religious leadership carries deep spiritual authority. Ayatollah Khamenei holds that position for decades. For many followers, he was not only a political leader, he was also a religious guide. His death, therefore, carries powerful symbolic meaning, and this adds emotional fuel to the conflict. But despite all this religious language, the real causes of war remain grounded in geopolitics. The Strait of Hormuz is one of the most important energy routes in the world. Control of this narrow passage influences global oil markets. Military power in the region shapes the balance between rival states. Nuclear technology raises fears of strategic dominance. Every major player has interests to protect. At the same time, political leaders often use religious language to inspire support. Sacred ideas can unite populations. They can motivate soldiers. They can turn political struggles into moral battles. And when war is framed as a fight between good and evil, compromise becomes much harder. Narratives spread quickly in the modern world. In Western media, some stories focus on the extreme religious language used by certain leaders. This is the most dangerous part of the conflict, because wars are not fought only with weapons. They are also fought with ideas, stories, beliefs. So we return to the central question: is this truly a religious war? The answer may be more complex. The causes of the conflict are largely geopolitical: power, security, territory, energy routes, military dominance. But the language used to justify the conflict often becomes religious. Sacred imagery gives moral meaning to political decisions, and once that happens, diplomacy becomes harder. If your enemy is described as the Antichrist or anti-Islam, negotiation becomes impossible. If your enemy is called Amalek, compromise becomes betrayal. When politics is wrapped in the armor of religion, violence can begin to feel sacred, and sacred violence rarely ends quickly. The bombs are real, the destruction is real, the deaths are real, but the reasons given for fighting continue to change. Some American leaders say the war is about freedom, others say it is about stopping nuclear weapons, still others describe it as part of a divine plan. This is where the real danger lies. When human conflicts are presented as the will of God, they gain a dangerous power, a power that can silence doubt, a power that can justify endless war. The question remains, is this truly a battle between religions, or is religion being used as a tool in a much older struggle for power? Perhaps the most troubling answer is this: it does not matter whether prophecy is real. What matters is that enough people believe it is, because in war, belief itself can become the most powerful weapon of all.